show, we're going to follow some updates and developments on the election, some voter fraud activity, which has been discovered over in Pennsylvania. Um, that was just released on, I believe, of that October 25th. We're going to try and look at some updates with the Israeli Iranian conflict now. Um, and hopefully, you know, gain some greater insight today on what's happening within the country and around the world. Our show is for educational purposes only, so we're going to be sharing briefly some content from third parties. Um, and so let's without further ado, let's dive in.
Good morning, everyone. District Attorney Heather Adams. On Tuesday afternoon, I was contacted by Krista Miller, who is our Chief Clerk of Elections, regarding potentially fraudulent voter registration applications that had recently been received by her office. At that time, she informed me that the Elections Office received approximately 2,500 applications at or near the deadline for registering to vote. While preparing to process these applications, staff noticed that numerous applications appeared to have the same handwriting, were filled out on the same day with unknown signatures, and some were previously registered voters, excuse me, and the signatures on file not match the signatures on the application. So before I begin to summarize our preliminary findings, I must remind everyone that this is an ongoing investigation, and for that reason, I will be limited in the details that I can provide. Lancaster.
So again, this is breaking news out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Officials have busted a large-scale fraudulent voter registration scheme that includes thousands of applications with the same handwriting, fake signatures, false addresses, etc. And this is from DC Drano. Um, he reposted and shared this from George. And this is voter fraud. And I quote, this voter fraud bust in Pennsylvania may have just saved Trump's presidency. The media says election fraud isn't an issue, but they just busted thousands of fraudulent Democrat registrations. So obviously, everybody is going to be not only engaged but laser focused on every part of the political infrastructure pertaining to the election operation, how it operates, how it functions from start to finish. I think that we can clearly see that the Republican Party, Americans in general, and the Democratic Party and every other party are everybody's keen in, right? And so if something is not right in the beginning, it's going to be audited, um, and it's going to be processed. That audit is going to be processed. Its findings is going to be processed over to the district attorney's office with jurisdiction, and they're going to be monitoring um, closely and working with. So there's a cooperation or a joint operation. It appears. So in this joint operation, it appears to be the Secretary of State or the clerk's office and all of the figureheads dealing with and around the election operation. And the Attorney General or the district attorney and her team is working with the other team to make sure that this election security or the election integrity is intact and the election laws being enforced. And it appears that they've already found in this particular report here that they found some exactly what we just talked about, which was large scale fraudulent voter registration scheme. And so that's what this report here is about.
Lancaster County detectives began investigating the voter registration applications and immediately found applications that were indeed fraudulent. Indicators of fraud included inaccuracies with the addresses listed on the applications, false personal identification.
And so this is also things that you and I can be aware of, and be and absorb this knowledge to gain greater insight on what to look for. You know, what constitute fraud, voter fraud, or registration fraud, or what are the elements? What are the contents of it? How exactly did they attempt to operate or commission this act of fraud?
Identification information, as well as false names. A number of the applications also contained names that did not match the provided Social Security information. In some cases, applications contained correct personal identification information, such as the correct address, correct phone number, date of birth, driver's license number, and Social Security number.
You know, what's important here is having some honest people that's in operation, the caretakers, the people that we trust with this actual function to be on the A game, because they're like the defenders. They're the first responders when it comes to election security. So if in fact they have been compromised and our system has been compromised, because there is no frontline defense to protect the election system. Um, and so in Pennsylvania here, it seems like they have some incredible people at the helm, that's safeguarding the election system and the integrity, um, within this county of Pennsylvania. What is this? Lancaster County. And so I wonder is do we have those same kind of people enshrined into our system here in the state of Michigan? Because when you look at it, they said these are, I believe this is pertaining to Democrat registrations. And so we know in Michigan that the machine itself is a Democratic or a DNC controlled machine. So the question I would pose to the audience is there any kind of people like this within the counties and the cities that's patriots and don't have an allegiance to a party, and we can, or if even if they are subservient to a party, is their love for country greater than that affiliation or allegiance to that party? So if your side, if you see some things that are in error or can constitute fraud, will you bring those findings to the front? That's the question that I pose to the audience, or to Michiganders. Do you think that your civil servants, your clerk's offices, your district attorneys in that joint operation of election security, do you think they will be honest in their findings? Do you think they will protect the election systems of the state of Michigan? Because you don't have an attorney general that's in favor, uh, uh, or a state secretary of state or governor. So the top three is off the table. So I wanted to pose that question.
But the individuals listed on the applications informed detectives that they did not request the form, they did not complete the form, and verified that the signature on the form was not theirs. At this point, it is believed that the fraudulent voter registrations are connected to a large-scale canvassing operations for voter registrations that date back to June. However, the majority of the applications received are dated August 15th and after. Those canvassing for voter registrations were employed and paid to obtain voter registration applications. The majority of the applications were from residents in the city of Lancaster. However, applications were also received from residents in Columbia, Elizabethtown, Mountjoy, Akron, Ephrata, Stevens, Strasburg, as well as other locations across Lancaster County.
So it was a multi-city operation, and again, thank God for those vanguards protecting protecting the election system and security there, and within that county, um, because it's just tough to find, because you hear it all the time about voter fraud since the former President Donald J. Trump brought it to our awareness, and it's kind of tough to say former president because we continue to see in these stories and these reports, these factual reports, we keep finding tons of irregularities dating back to 2019. We keep finding fraud operations all over the country. And it just makes you wonder, what exactly did Congress certify on January 6th? What did they certify? Did they actually certify a criminal operation which will constitute an overthrow of the federal government? I don't know. I don't know. But I know that we keep seeing the common denominator, consistent stories, and then we keep seeing the judicial branch. It's like, well, we're not dealing with it, but no legal standing here. But here we have this a little different twist here because you have a district attorney. So it's a little bit different when the government is bringing um, the claim, right? And based on the findings, and this is all government related joint, like a joint operation here between the clerk's office and the district attorney's office in Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So it's a little different here. Um, I would assume it would be a little different here when the government is bringing the actual allegations to the table and doing a press conference too. Um, Meaning some people's in trouble. It sounds like.
The canvases themselves took place at various shopping centers, parking lots of grocery stores and businesses, sidewalks, and parks. During this preliminary investigations, detectives were able to verify some of the applications were indeed legitimate. In these instances, the applicant verified that they did provide information to a canvasser. For these applications, we will immediately advise voter registration and that we confirm that they are legitimate requests, and voter registration will process that application.
And again, this is for educational purposes only. Thank you for joining the Brother Eel Show.
Thus far, of the investigations that we have completed, we have determined that 60% have been fraudulent. That is of the investigations that we've completed. We do have more to do.
And that's 60% is fraudulent. 60%.
Today, and my understanding is that voter registration is still going through the box of 2,500, but should be completed sometime here today. As I said, the investigation is ongoing. We are aware of at least 2 other counties that received similar applications that are currently being investigated. At this point, we have confirmed violation of our crimes code as well as our elections code.
So that means that some people are going to jail. That's what that means. There's been a violation of their crimes code. As the district attorney, as a attorney general, as of a state or attorney general of the United States, your job, the president, even the president, which is the cop of the country, their job is to enforce the law. So that means there's a violation of the law that constitute a crime. That's absolutely government's jurisdiction. So again, there's a little difference here, and they have evidence, and the findings, that evidence is elements of a crime, violation of a criminal codes, and so they're going to move forward in their, not only their investigation into the other developments. There may be have other, but they say they know that there's other counties been compromised. So now you know what I mean. It's a different ball game. It's a different, because she's not running for office, right? Well, not, it's not running for. It's not Trump, basically, is what I'm saying. Because everybody want to say Trump. So it's not Donald Trump, so-called crying wolf, or so-called, he's complaining. He's been complaining for 4 years now. Whoa, 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 whoa. So some fraud happened to me. I've been frauded. I've been frauded. The system has been fraud. It ain't just he's been frauded. What about the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people who actually voted for Donald Trump? And those were the people who were defrauded. They were the victims. So you got Trump, the victim, then you got all these Americans who voted for Trump was a victim. So this continues to cause into question, how compromised are we as a nation of people? Because we've seen the decline of America, excuse my French. We've seen the decline of the United States of America and the republic that's been established, an attack on the republic. And in that's all post January 6th. So again, I'm posing another question where I'm saying, well, hey, what exactly did Congress certify that day? Because if you're telling me, okay, we just found fraud over here in the same battleground state where they were saying fraud was being conducted at. So now you have a government figurehead whose job is to prosecute crime, and then you have the election figureheads whose job is to process and operate the election system and to defend it from fraud and invasion. And so now they came forth, said, this is what we got, this is what we found. And so in a battleground state, in a significant, this is significant. Like when they say we're going to make sure that every vote get counted, well, exactly, every vote matters, right? Every legal, lawful vote matters in this situation, not those things that are processed through fraud. That can never be counted. How can it count if it's fraud? So fraud can't be counted. Let's make it make sense. No part of fraud can be counted. It's fraud. How are we saying, oh, it's okay for 10% of fraud? No, no, no. Any part of fraud, the system must be fraudless. It must be free from fraud. Period. Meaning it has to follow the laws that's been enacted through Congress and through states Congress that's in compliance with the Constitution. Anything that's adverse, counterproductive, opposite, contrary to the Constitution is notwithstanding under Article 6 of the American Constitution for the United States. And everybody is subjected to that. All states are subjected to that. And it's transferred in the state's constitutions. So the state's constitution must be in compliance with the federal and vice versa. And so to create the harmony, the unity, the peace, the balance, so you don't have this conflict of jurisdiction, right? So everybody's supposed to be on the same page. Okay, so what happened here? So now this is, you remove Donald Trump from being the spokesperson, and let's bring it over to this sister here and let these sister here be the spokesperson on the fraud that they found during the operation. Okay, and so I'm just curious if, in fact, do we have people of integrity like this enshrined into the Michigan election security system? Is because I seen some stuff from Benson, and she was talking about how they got their own operation running, and they're prepared to fight back against lawsuits and things of this kind of nature. So they're ready to. It appears they're ready to defend the fraud. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just curious based on how the rhythm, the algorithm of these things, these reports centered around the election. I don't know. I know last time we had censorship. I know this time we got people running from the Democratic Party that's in support of censorship. I know about the propaganda that's been exposed. And I know in a court of law, you have to provide evidence of a crime in order to have, and again, let me be clear, because we can't bring like prosecute someone criminally. That's the prosecutor's job. That's the district attorney's job. That's the attorney general's job. That's what they took an oath for. That's what they read for office and took the oath for, to prosecute crimes. What we can do is facilitate, process evidence over, right? Our findings. We can draft affidavits in support of our findings to make it a sworn statement. But that's probably just about as much as we can do, and probably can sue civilly, right, constitutionally. But it's their actual function. It's their oath of office. It's their charge to defend the laws. You know what I mean? And so it's on them, and they're bringing the charge. So this is a little different here. I'm just trying to give us a breakdown on how different it is from Trump saying, "Hey, they cheated me," or Brother Ill saying, "Hey, they cheated me," even though we got evidence of the fraud by their very own admission. Their very own admission. They said, "Hey, we had a glitch to the voters registration file, the qualified Michigan voters registration file." And we got the letter. We got all of this stuff. And we immediately filed for a special election due to the fraud and the breach. And again, this is a little different. This is the prosecutor, district attorney saying, "Hey, this is what we found." And it violated the laws.
We have all available detective box of 2,500, but should be completed sometime here today. As I said, the investigation is ongoing. We are aware of at least 2 other counties that received similar applications that are currently being investigated. At this point, we have confirmed violation of our crimes code as well as our elections code. We have all available detectives working on this. We are all hands on deck so that we can properly assess the validity of these applications in a timely manner. If needed, we will request additional assistance from our local police departments. Good morning, everyone.
And so there it is. You know what I mean? The rabbit is off the hat. I think again, the Trump administration done a great job at educating the American public and all of its institutions relating to elections from 2020 to right now. I just think they did an excellent job at what to look for, informing the people on what to look for, informing the people of the laws that they must enforce, and not just, you know, saying somebody cheated me and then just lying down and just letting it happen. But they fought. They fought very well. They fought intelligently, and things like this we should not see in our country, in this nation of laws. We shouldn't be seeing thousands of fraudulent Democrat registrations. We shouldn't see that, right? Like that has no place in democracy. That has no place in this republic. Um, and it's on every American to understand his or her civic obligation to the nation, and that's what's missing from the minds, especially in the more vulnerable communities. Um, they've been so beat up on and traumatized and fed information that's to devalue and demean them, to feed off their trauma, to stimulate the hate and disbalancement or imbalancement within them. Is to create that type of environment instead of promoting your true heritage, your true ancestral contributions to civilization on planet Earth. So you can start by seeing yourself successful. You can start by seeing the greatness of your blood, your lineage, your bloodline, instead of always preying on the trauma that's always being magnified, instead of showing you the world's trauma, right? And what the world has been through, and what the world has suffered from. All nations have suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. But I've been to the schools, I've been to their halls of justice and their schools of thoughts, and I've traveled around and I've seen, um, um, the reality that we're not abreasted on our divinity in such a way that that we can rise above the trauma through a process of real healing to create the peace within, to place our mental capacities, or really the restoration of our mental capacities and faculties, and so we can be a strong people, not a people that can be depicted and broken down and used as fuel for others' empire. It's like we got to build our own empire, and the empire is really already built. We must reclaim it. We must reclaim the empire of our righteous and conscious minds, and that's what's being continue to be under attack. And so it's imperative that we can use the truth to continue to guide us down the right path. So people can't continue to manipulate us in every single venue and activity and events like we behind the eight ball. So here it is. We're going to continue to follow stories like this as they continue to develop. Um, it's for the purpose of real voters education, right? It's like we hear what they're saying over here, but okay, what about this story right here? It's just contradicts all of that stuff that people is pushing. The illusion, right? The illusions of what they pushing. If it's what it is you say it is, then you shouldn't have to cheat to achieve an objective, right? And all the work that we put in, the honest work, the sacrifice, the work ethics, all of the shadow hours that go into your craft, if it's that, then let it be that. It'll speak for itself. But try to manipulate us into an outcome, that's unjust and it's just not American. Hey, thanks for joining the Brother Ill Show. Make sure to visit us at www.brotherill.com for more exclusive content. You can visit us at WIC TV on YouTube and WIC TV Network. That's WIC TV Network on rumble.com. Thank you. Have a blessed day.